What is going on, guys? It is NFL schedule release day, and the schedules are out. Before we get into all that, before we break it all down, before we get into the goodness of all this, all right, how are we feeling? How are we feeling? What are our expectations of the schedule right now?
I'm a little nervous, but I know I want to see Jacksonville first. You seen I tweeted that out the other day. Bring them on. Let's go. We got a quarterback now. Bring them.
Look, all I see are 17 dubs, baby.
Hey.
Right now.
Okay, so Vince Lombardi is making his way up West 56, huh?
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm just looking for some fun. I just want some fun. Obviously, we're going to have some fun in Germany. You know how great it is to wake up at 8:30 in the morning and turn on and have the Colts already just to start your day off. And then you can spend the rest of your day grilling, watching football, having a few brews, watching football. So we already know the Germany game's happening. I'm excited for that day just because I love waking up early and turning on and getting Colts football. But then, obviously we got a pretty good schedule. I believe it's the fourth easiest by the rankings last year. If we go by that, which obviously you can't ever do, but
right
metrics the Colts do right now have the fourth easiest schedule. So there's some opportunity. I'll say that.
Right. So, yeah. So, like Marcus said, he's wanting the Jaguars week 1. Me personally, I'm happy to skip Trevor Lawrence. I'm not in a rush to face him. I want Anthony Richardson versus CJ Stroud early. I want it early. I'm sorry. I want the matchup early. I'm not sure. I don't care if it's week 1. We're going to get into the schedule because it's out already.
I think both of you guys are going to get what you want for.
Yeah. So, hey, so let's cut the chit chat. Why don't we get straight to the meat and potatoes, right?
There you go.
Okay. All right. So let's go week 1 here. Week 1's going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, Marcus, for some reason, you want to face the Jaguars first. I don't know why, but I respect you wanting the fight very early. I'm not sure what our chances are in that fight, but we will see as we get closer to that game. Week 1, you get Shane Steichen versus Doug Peterson, 2 coaches coming from the Philadelphia Eagles recently. Doug Peterson, what? Did he leave in 2019, I want to say, and then Nick Sirianni took over. 2020, and then Nick Sirianni took over in 2021. So Shane Steichen, Doug Peterson obviously didn't work together in Philly, but they have a similar history. Now they have each of their own quarterbacks, their own franchises. They will kick it off week 1. I mean, I don't expect anything else. An AFC South showdown.
The only unfortunate thing is it's in Indy. So we still have to play at Jacksonville, which we all know is like super cursed. So we have the week 1 curse and we have the at Jacksonville curse. And unfortunately they fall on different times. Instead of it being, at Jacksonville week 1, we can knock out both curses at the same time. Hey, it's a new era though. All the previous curses don't matter. This is the Anthony Richardson era. It's a new era. Curses are meant to be broken. We're going to knock the first one out just off the bat.
Yes. Hey, man, week 1 is the era of Julius Brent season. That's what it is. Week 1 is going to start that era of Julius Brents, Darius Rush, hopefully Isaiah Rodgers for the foreseeable future, right? Julian Blackmon, Rodney Thomas, seeing that young secondary against
Nick Cross season?
Nick Cross season. I mean, golly, man, you're going to see that young secondary tested early against Trevor Lawrence. Calvin Ridley's returning. Remember, Calvin Ridley will be back. We will see Calvin Ridley. He was out of football for a whole year.
Yeah,
now
I'm going to have to bet on this game, man.
Yeah, man. Oh, this is going to be an exciting one, man. This young secondary. Yeah, this young defense is going to get tested early. Marcus, before we move on to the rest of the schedule, your thoughts on Jacksonville coming week 1?
I mean, what better way to start off the season and set a tempo than playing a team you always lose to with your new quarterback? I think this is the perfect test to set the tone for the season, which is against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yep.
And nobody knows. They don't have any NFL film on Anthony Richardson. So I think the best way to hit them in the mouth is when they least expect it. So I'm ready for it. I'm ready for Anthony Richardson to come. His first game to be at home. The crowd's going to be crazy. We know how crazy Indy can get. I've been there personally. I know how crazy it can get in there. And when Anthony Richardson steps on that field, it's going to be a show. And this is the perfect moment to have a show at the beginning of the year against a team we hate, the Jacksonville Jaguars. And it's going to be a victory. I'm telling you now. Pencil it. Staple it in. The Colts is going to win week 1.
Hey, man, I don't know about you guys, but what are we going to put the over-under at? Not in terms of points, but in terms of days it takes for this game to get sold out. Anthony Richardson, debut week 1 in Indy, not on the road. Remember last year he had 2 road games early. No, we don't have to wait almost a month into the season to see the Colts live. How many days do you think it takes for this game to get sold out? What are we putting the over-under at? 30? Maybe 60?
10 days.
Oh.
Yeah, the season opener, man. Anthony Richardson era. Yeah, it'll be a sold out show. I will say, just looking through the schedule though, I know last year wasn't that great.
Talk to me, lad.
I know Jim Irsay is heated right now. The absolute disrespect to the Colts organization. Not a single primetime game. The only nationally televised game is the game in Germany in week 10 on the NFL Network. That is the only nationally televised game. No Sunday night football, no Monday night football. I don't know. There might be a Thursday night game in here. I'd have to check the dates.
We'll look at it.
Which I will. We'll go through there. But yeah, man, no Sunday night or Monday night football for the Colts this year.
After what the Colts did last season, I wouldn't be surprised if we're on a 10-year ban. I wouldn't be surprised. That was pathetic.
Hey, we all remember that Broncos game, unfortunately.
Oh yeah,
Lord, man.
That snooze fest, that Pee Wee football game.
Don't forget about allowing 30 points in a single quarter and allowing the biggest comeback in NFL history. So, hey, man, this organization did it to itself. Jim Irsay kind of had a hand in that, but that's in the past, right? That's in the past. We're not going to focus on that anymore. Now it's trying to build up new credibility to get primetime games. Personally, guys, as we are looking at the schedule, as you guys are looking at on the screen, I didn't necessarily expect any primetime games going into this one. The Colts are not in a very likable market. They're not that big of a market. You got guys like Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, DeForest Buckner, Shaq Leonard. But after, Jim Irsay goes on, a 5-year run of trying to get Indianapolis primetime games, the league gives you primetime games. And you turn into one of the most boringest teams of the decade. So I'm sorry, the organization did it to itself. It's unfortunate, but now you have a young stud to help build credibility and get back on the primetime train. We'll get there. We'll get there.
I just checked the schedule. No Thursday night football game. So
that's a plus. That's a plus.
Yeah. So the only game that could possibly be, and they could be flexed, of course, but you got the Pittsburgh, which is to be decided, and week 18 versus Houston, to be decided. So I would say week 15 could possibly be a Thursday night game, or it could be flexed into any other game. I'm sure if the Colts are 14-0 going into week 15, then they might flex that game into prime.
Right.
But yeah, as of right now, no Thursday night football, no Sunday night football, no Monday night football. The only nationally televised game for the entire season is week 10 in Germany at 9:30 a.m. Eastern.
Against the Patriots.
Hey, man, that's the NFL's way of telling Jim Irsay to just shut up. This is your punishment. Don't ever speak about primetime again. I feel like that's what it is, dude. Just being realistic, I don't think any of us expected any Thursday or any primetime games, honestly. I don't think there's a slot here. Tennessee's not attractive anymore. Houston, as good as a matchup as C.J. Stroud versus Anthony Richardson is, it's probably just not primetime yet. It's not primetime worthy yet.
Interesting as well.
Yeah.
Like Bryce Young versus
Baltimore
Anthony Richardson in primetime, like that. I would check that out.
Right.
Richardson is a good one too.
Anthony Richardson versus Desmond Ridder. We'll see what Atlanta is later on. We know that's one of the opponents there. But let's get moving along here in this schedule. After week 1, home opener against Jacksonville, we get our game. The one that I want, Anthony Richardson versus CJ Stroud, week 2 in Houston. And man, why are they always going to Houston early? Always early in the season. It's always
because it gives them an easy win, man.
Yeah, it's a second home for the Colts. Don't do that. That's the home that T.Y. Hilton built.
Yeah, that's the house T.Y. built, man. the Colts love Houston.
Right?
Yeah.
You get the week 1 curse out of the way, and then you get a nice that's
train rolling in Houston.
It's a home game.
Yeah. And then it's another home game in L.A. because they ain't got no home. Everybody go through there, they be rooting for it. They got fans all up in that building. So that's like 3 home games.
Them Texans fans have been starving. They have literally boycotted Houston in ticket sales and put their money into the Astros. So they're now that they have a new head coach, a new face of the franchise, a new face of the defense in Will Anderson Jr., you still got some young players there. Derek Stingley, Jalen Petrie they got in the last year's draft. They got some good building blocks there. It's going to be another AFC South division game. It's going to be big. From what I'm looking at right now, the first 3 the first 4 out of the first 6 games are going to be division games. So it's kind of like last year. The Colts, if they want to make some noise, they got to make some moves. They got to do some early winning in the season if they want to get into that conversation of playoffs, because I don't think they're making the playoffs if they're not a division champion. I don't think they're sneaking into that wild card in this tough AFC. But Marcus, let's go to you, man. Houston, Indy, week 2. That's going to be CJ Stroud versus Anthony Richardson, DeMeco Ryans versus Shane Steichen. DeMeco Ryans wants to get some payback for the NFC Championship this last year too. So keep that in mind.
Oh yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting matchup for sure. I think it can be potentially a game of the week scenario, but I think it's going to be 2 young teams being fresh. They're going to make a lot of mistakes, but I think the Colts can definitely make some noise out of this game. And Houston, they got they got like a sleeping receiver core in my opinion, especially after the offseason they had. I think they had a really decent offseason. They finally moved Brandon Cook, so that means somebody else got to step up in that receiving room. So it's gonna be young. It's gonna be interesting to watch for sure. Houston's always been pretty decent on the run game too, so I'd like to see how Stroud's gonna get involved with that. Looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, like I said, I think Houston generally is pretty favorable when it comes to the Colts. Now, honestly, too, like even last year, you saw like Houston. That was to me my favorite game of the year last year because it netted us the 4th overall pick. It got Bryce Young out of Houston. Like they were a lock for Bryce Young. They blew it. So yeah, Houston's been a pretty favorable place for Indy to play. So I'm looking forward to that. And of course, on the football field, CJ Stroud versus Anthony Richardson. Week 2, we get to see really what it's all about. Well, maybe, we don't, look, we don't know if Richardson's even starting the season. Talk is talk. It's going to come down to training camp, and it's going to come down, to OTAs. This is going to be a long off season. He definitely has a shot, but it's it's not written in stone yet. So we'll see what happens.
Damn it needs to be. I love him, okay, but Minshew back up, Richardson start. We should make that decision now.
Well, I wouldn't make it now.
Well, it doesn't matter what you think.
All right, hey, chill, jabroni, before you open up a can of what.
Well, your can is about to get sent to rock bottom. How about that?
Nobody's scared of the rock bottom. The Smackdown Hotel. I'll tear that place down and stomp a mud hole in it. Let's go.
Okay.
So I'll say this. You don't want to throw Richardson out there until he's ready. So as far as whenever he understands protections, whenever he understands the offense, you throw him out there and he has no idea where his protections are, where he's getting blitzed from. I mean, like, you're setting the kid up to get killed out there. And so you need to have a good understanding of the flow of the offense, setting your protections, setting your audibles and your calls at the line of scrimmage and all that. Once he has an understanding of everything, and like, I mean, he's going to work hard. He's a hard worker. He's a smart dude. So we might get into week 1 of training camp and he's already got it all down. You never know. But once he has that, then you could kind of throw him out there, because then, like, he's got like a lifeboat, he's got a raft that he can hold and float onto, instead of just throwing him out in shark infested waters with no life jacket, no boat, no harpoon gun, nothing. You just feeding him to the sharks. And that's what you don't want to do with a guy like that, because you worry about failing, and then the confidence situation, it's just a big thing. So yeah, they're gonna put him out there, but he's got to be ready first off, as far as like from a mental standpoint, to be out there.
All right. Okay, so let's not put 2 shows into one. Okay, you're taking away content for later on. We got to stick to the schedule. Okay, so I mean, you're right though. This could be C.J. Stroud versus Gardner Minshew. Screw ticket sales. We could look at it several different ways. It's interesting to me because DeMeco Ryans is going to meet up with Shane Steichen again. These two met in the NFC Championship game. Philadelphia just had its way against that 49ers defense. Well, not necessarily had its way if they fought for it in that game. And then the offense just couldn't do much, and the rest of the story. So that's week 2. Week 3, the Colts are going to go back on the road. Okay, so 2 early road games in the first 3. We're going to face Baltimore. Lamar Jackson, newly paid Lamar Jackson. He's got Odell Beckham Jr. now. He's got offensive line, defense, got boosted up a little bit. Lamar Jackson, this is going to be an interesting one. You're going on the road to Baltimore. It's going to be early, probably going to be early excitement around Baltimore. This one, 3 straight AFC games. It's interesting. Personally, you're going to Baltimore, so that's probably maybe a rivalry more than we may want to accept. I don't know. I've talked to a few Baltimore people. They hate the Colts. And I could understand why. I just have no animosity towards the Ravens. So it's probably a one-sided rivalry in this case. But Lamar Jackson, we're going to see him early. So this defensive line is going to be busy during that week. But hey, like you said, if Anthony Richardson isn't starting, at least they have a decoy that can mimic what Lamar Jackson does in practice. So Landon, let me start with you, man. Baltimore, week 3. You got 3 early AFC games, and you're going back-to-back on the road, Houston and Baltimore.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good test, especially out in Baltimore. Like, that's a great test for a young team. And, we know how dynamic Lamar is. We know the additions they've added to their wide receiver room with Odell, Zay Flowers. Obviously, get Rashad Bateman coming back from injury, Mark Andrews. And then not only that, but, like, to me, like, one of the bigger underrated things that you haven't really heard the national media talking about was the new offensive coordinator getting hired out in Baltimore, which is going to be a lot more – like, it's going to be a lot different than the normal Baltimore that we're used to seeing, as far as, this heavy quarterback run game where they're just constantly running Lamar, and they're not letting him, kind of drop back and throw like this. It's going to be a little bit different. Now, obviously, they'll still use his legs just because it's so elite. But, I mean, they've got some weapons out there in Baltimore. And I think, like, they got a really, really good roster. So this is going to be a great test for a young team. I'm super excited at Baltimore. So it's an away game. I guess, like I said, probably one of the better teams in the AFC right now. And if Richardson is starting, if you got Anthony Richardson lining up, going toe-to-toe with Lamar Jackson, man, that's an exciting game to watch. I mean, you're talking about plays being made at the quarterback position, whether it's on the ground, whether it's through the air. I mean, that could be a barn burner. Like, that could be a really fun game to watch. So definitely looking forward to that one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too, man. It's gonna be a show. Lamar versus Anthony Richardson, man. Like I just want this whole Anthony Richardson tour this season to just be exciting. I know it's gonna be exciting, man. This dude's gonna be so dynamic. I'm not going out there and say he's gonna win MVP. He's just gonna make highlights. Like he's gonna be a walking highlight tape, and he's gonna be going up against another human highlight tape. Like it's gonna be this season's gonna be fun to watch, man. That's just it's it's not normal to say, especially as a Colts fan, where you're used to watching someone just sit in the pocket or do something inexcusable, but you get to watch a young human highlight develop and become a person into his own, man. It's gonna be so dope to watch, especially watching him against Lamar Jackson, who's always just fun to watch as well. It's gonna be dope, and he's gonna be playing in a very tough arena, which is Baltimore, man. It's tough up there, so I like this dogfight, and definitely they're gonna send some hitters to him.
And really shout out to KJ Wood in the comments here. We see your question. We're going to get to you here when we get to that area of the schedule, but don't worry. We see that question. We're going to get to you, KJ. Next up is going to be the Rams are going to come to Indianapolis week 4. Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald are making their way back to Indy. Obviously, the last time these two teams met, the Rams ended up winning in Indy again. That was
a great game too, by the way.
It was a great game. I still don't understand the pitch, why the pitch was made at the goal line. But hey, when you see Aaron Donald, I guess you got to do something with the ball. One of the craziest Carson Wentz plays we remember.
Anthony Richardson versus Stetson Bennett.
What's up?
I said we're gonna get Anthony Richardson versus Stetson Bennett.
Whoa! Hey, what? Probably not. But you never know. I mean, something could happen. I mean, knock on wood, right? We don't want anything to happen.
I love Stafford, man.
Yeah. I think for this one, man, this one's going to be interesting because obviously the Aaron Donald versus Quentin Nelson matchup. Although we talk about that matchup, but if you're a defensive coordinator, I don't know why you would match up Aaron Donald against one of the best players on the line. You would favor that matchup to the right guard spot, who you have no idea who is starting there right now. So that's number one thing. Jalen Ramsey was traded away this offseason. They have some corner issues. They drafted a few guys, one of them Travis Hodges-Tomlinson. If he plays early, could we see a nice little matchup of Hodges-Tomlinson and Josh Downs? That would be really fun to see. You got their defense is still growing, but the offense, man, that's early on. The defense is going to get tested. If you look at the schedule right now, they're going to get tested. This young secondary is going to get tested. Week 1, you're going Doug Peterson, Trevor Lawrence. Week 2, you got C.J. Stroud. Week 3, you got Todd Monken and Lamar Jackson. And then week 4, you have Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp. You have Sean McVay. They're going to get tested early. So, Marcus, let me start with you, man. The Rams coming to town week 4.
I'm not going to lie. If this was 2 years ago, I would have been scared. I'm not even scared of the Rams this year. I'm not. You can tell me all those names. You could say Aaron Donald. I have no fear on the Rams this year. And they're on the brink of explosion anyway. So, my guy Anthony Richardson walking through those doors would just be a tip of the iceberg. So, I mean, I definitely think they could make some noise and put up some points for sure. It is the Colts. But I do think the Colts can definitely, walk out of this way easily. My boy Landon say undefeated. The Rams is not even the Rams no more. This is just a Los Angeles team. This is nothing. This is nothing. I got confidence this year, and this ain't normal for me. I got confidence this year. I ain't nobody scared of the Rams. Bring it. Let's go. Step up.
It's probably just gas.
Yeah, low-key probably is.
You're saying that now, and then we get blown out by like 3 touchdowns or something.
Hey, I'm never counting out Sean McVay.
Yeah.
I'll say this, though. One thing we do know about Anthony Richardson is when the lights are bright, the dude loves to put on a show. Can you think of any brighter lights than Hollywood coming to Indianapolis? I mean, this dude, like, it's prom. He's prom to put on a show. And then, yeah, like Marcus is saying, man, the Rams, like, they are on the brink of a rebuild. This is kind of like possibly their little, like, last hurrah. And, I mean, we'll see what happens. You never know. I mean, obviously, you're never going to count out a team that has Aaron Donald, Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay. I mean, they still got some dudes out there. So it'll be interesting to see the direction this Rams team is going in. And I think 4 weeks in, you'll definitely be able to tell whether they're like still hanging on to that Super Bowl contention just a little bit, or if, you know, it's time to blow it up. And that's a team too that, like, if things don't fall their way early, like, they could be in the Caleb Williams consideration. So, like, that's like, it's going to be really interesting watching this Rams team. Like, they're one of the most intriguing teams to me in the NFL right now, because you just don't know what they are. You don't know if they have that last gasp of like getting into the playoffs, playing big, you know, big games. And I mean, because Stafford, man, he balls. Like, in big games, the dude balls. And Sean McVay and Aaron Donald's, like, you know, I mean, like I said, you can't count those dudes out. But if they start piling up losses quickly, I mean, you just never know what direction they're heading in. So there's a good chance I might, you know, obviously my guy Drew, big Rams fan. So who knows, man? There's a good chance we might just take us a trip up there. I might be at that game, you know, in person.
Hey, man. And of course, we can't forget the key matchup in the interior, right? DeForest Buckner versus Esteban Avila. Can't forget about that matchup. That's going to be fun. Either way, this one, man. Right. With the Rams, and like you said, they could be in contention for Caleb Williams. I don't care what Caleb Williams do, as long as he doesn't come to the AFC. Go to the NFC, damn it. Go. NFC needs to start getting some quarterbacks, okay? We're good over here at the AFC, okay? So, and obviously with the Rams, Matthew Stafford has dealt with some serious back problems. I mean, these are serious back problems. So maybe there's a possibility that you can see Stetson Bennett early in this game. He might start this game. He may not. If you do, I don't know, man. Stetson Bennett, and for all the slack that he gets, like you say, when it comes to Anthony Richardson performing, Stetson Bennett has proven with 2 national championships, 2 playoff wins, 2 SEC championships, when the lights are the absolute brightest, he steps up and he wins. So that will be intriguing. I'm not gonna lie. I'll take it. Anthony Richardson versus Stetson Bennett. I'll love it. Let's go back to the good old days. Let's go ahead and move on here. We're gonna go back to back here, week 5 and 6. Week 5 is gonna be the Tennessee Titans in week 6. Tennessee Titans, Colts are gonna be at home, week 5. Week 6, they're gonna go on the road to Jacksonville. So you will see Jacksonville twice in the first 6 weeks. Tennessee will be week 5. And in the first 6 games, you will have had 4 division games. So you're kind of back in the same, I mentioned earlier, you're kind of back in the same position you were last year. Remember last year you had 5 division games early in the first 7. So you got to come out of the gate and you got to win, man. You got to start winning games early. For such a young team, it's probably not looking well. But hey, if Anthony Richardson is starting week 1, no DCs have tape on this guy. Could he have a Dak Prescott type year, rookie year? Maybe, maybe not. We won't know until we get to the season. But week 5, this is intriguing to me because will Ryan Tannehill be playing bad and they go to Will Levis at this point in the season? This is week 5. I'm curious about that. I don't want to see, it may not be a big deal, but maybe this is just my psyche getting to me. I don't want to see a pissed off Will Levis who is still out to prove everybody wrong, personally. I don't want to see that. But then again, when you look at the talent around the Titans, you're just like, okay, I might take that. Landon, let me start with you, man. Week 5, you're facing Tennessee for the first time. Week 6, you're going to be going to Jacksonville. So you're going to see the Jacksonville curse early on in the season. Your thoughts on those back-to-back games?
Yeah, that's tough. I will say this, like, if you're facing the Titans, though, like, I would much rather see Will Levis than Ryan Tannehill. And, like, that's not anything against Will Levis, but Ryan Tannehill is one of the most efficient. Like, he's extremely efficient And if there's one thing Will Levis was not in college, it was efficient. He was a very inefficient passer. And you know, they're very similar type of guys, but I just think from like a mental standpoint, like Ryan Tannehill is much more efficient with the football, doesn't turn the ball over a ton, is able to just kind of make do within the flow of the offense. Where I think Will Levis, as we kind of saw, like sometimes, man, he gets away from making the correct read, making the right, the throw, and he just kind of starts forcing stuff. He plays hero ball a lot. And that's not something you're going to be, that's hard to teach at the NFL level, especially 5 weeks in. So I would much rather see a rookie quarterback. That's not saying he's never going to, he might not ever figure it out, because he might figure it out. But I just don't think 5 weeks into your rookie season is when you've got the answers to the test. So, at least when it comes to like that kind of stuff, because that's something, playing efficient football and just, making the correct reads and stuff like that stuff's hard to coach. It's hard to coach out. So I'll be curious to watch how that plays out. And then of course we got Jacksonville at Jacksonville. The good thing is we got a dude that's been training down in the Jacksonville area all off season with Gardner Minshew. He's from Florida. It's a homecoming. He's going to feel right at home down there in like literally he will feel at home in Jacksonville. It's not going to be too big for him. He's going to love it. He's going to, in every year we play in Jacksonville, dude's going to eat it up because he's going to get to go home. So yeah, I'm definitely, that's probably the main reason they even drafted him. They're like, look, we need a guy that can play in Jacksonville. We want somebody that can ball out when he plays in Florida. We're sick of losing to the Jaguars. So they just took Richardson 4th overall just for that reason. So Jacksonville's, that's a tough team, man. They're going to be tough. They're probably the most talented at the quarterback position right now in the AFC South. Well, maybe not the most talented, but I think the best right now.
The best quarterback, basically.
Yeah, the best right now for sure. And I don't think that's even really debatable. And then, we talked about it with week 1. You throw in some of the weapons. Christian Kirk, another year in the system. You got, I think, Evan Ingram. Did he go back there? He was really good for them last year.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and he was really good for them last year. They add Calvin Ridley to that as well. They picked up a few other guys. ETN, another year healthy in the offense. The big question mark for Jacksonville is going to be their offensive line. I know they took the tackle in the first round there, but that's going to be a big question mark for them, is how their offensive line holds up. But yeah, it's 2 division games are always tough. That's just part of it. But yeah, four division games in the first 6 weeks of the season, man. Like, they are not doing a young Colts team any justice with this schedule, as far as like putting your divisional games, not giving you any primetime games. I'd be angry if I was Jim Irsay, bro. I'd be so heated.
I think I think he might have a right to be angry, but then again, just circle back to the primetime game.
Here's the thing too, though. It's like, you also got to think about it as well from the aspect of like the city of Indianapolis and the Colts stadium are built to host big events. Like, that stadium is built for primetime games, and nationally,
it's truly a beauty in person.
Yeah, and not even just for the NFL. You took like college football championship, NCAA Final Four. Big events. And whenever you have a stadium that's built for those purposes, and year after year after year, you don't get to show it off. He does have a right to be angry. And I totally get it. But the only way to change that, start winning football games. You got to start winning football games. You hold the keys. But I do understand that, like, some of the animosity he would have towards that, because you have a city and you have a stadium, $1 billion stadium. I believe it was the first $1 billion stadium in the NFL, the first stadium built that passed the $1 billion mark. And you have that type of place to showcase primetime football in the NFL, and you just continually get passed over for teams like, I mean, the Commanders have a freaking primetime game this year, bro. The Commanders. Like,
Commanders right now are a better football team than the Colts.
No. At what?
So you mean to tell me if you line these two football teams up, the Colts are beating the Commanders?
Absolutely.
Oh, 100%. Yes. Easily.
How dare you?
Who's going to stop Terry McLaurin?
Sam Howell?
Sir, they barely won last time we played them. And it was a jump ball scenario.
Taylor Heineke.
They barely won that game.
They won the game, Marcus. It doesn't matter if they barely won. If you won by a point or 100, you won the game.
Yeah, and I think the Colts, I mean, like the Colts, like they added a lot of talent in the draft this year. Like they're young, but this team overall is much more talented than it was last season, especially at the most important position in the NFL, and that's a quarterback.
With the
you tell me you're putting Sam Howell up against Anthony Richardson as far, I mean, like, and I like Sam
Howell has more NFL experience than Anthony Richardson. He
Sam
can
Howell has
right now. Sam Howell knows what's going on in front of him more than Anthony Richardson does. Now, I'm not saying that with confidence because I'm not in the quarterback room. I'm not at minicamp, so I don't know for sure if that's a fact. But I feel comfortable. But I'm not saying that with conviction.
Sam Howell has played one more game in the NFL than Anthony Richardson has,
and that's a lot of football. He played a lot of college and a lot of NFL.
Anthony Richardson had 12
college starts. He's got a lot more football to play before he can. We're not trying to talk about Anthony Richardson versus Sam Howell. Let's not get into that discussion.
We're getting off topic.
Yeah, we're not getting like I can't sit here and fight for Sam Howell.
Right, so you guys, I'm gonna let you guys take Cleveland.
Yeah. Well, on your part, because you make a good point on the primetime games. Yes, you got an incredible stadium. It's a storied franchise, great city. I've never been there, but they're hosting the Combine every year. They host a Big Ten championship every year. Big Ten doesn't want to leave Indianapolis. They don't want to leave that place. It's great. It's a great environment for the Big Ten championship game. I mean, so many. Purdue got to be there. The hometown school. Ohio State is there every year. Iowa, Michigan State, just teams that have been there over the years. And
KJ just made a good point in the comments, man. The NBA All-Star game.
Yes. Yeah, that's coming in next year. That's big. That's big. But like you said, the Colts can sit there and say, look at our city all you want. But the NFL is going to be like, we just gave you 5 primetime games last year, and you were the laughing stock of every single one. So you put on probably the most boringest Thursday night game we've ever seen. You humiliated yourself in a close game against Dallas. It wasn't even a primetime game. You let go of a 33-0 lead and lost that game. And, I mean, I understand it from both views. I thought maybe, oh, man, I went with my gut. The Colts weren't going to get any. But, man, if there was one game that I wished would have been primetime was Indy and Carolina. That's one game that I would have wished would have been primetime, honestly. But let's go ahead and move along here. Week 7, you're going to be playing the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns, you're going to get your shot at Deshaun Watson again. You know, Cleveland had a down year, but that was because Deshaun Watson was suspended for the first 11 games. You know, Cleveland was trying to find their identity, but they knew later on the quarterback is going to change. Jacoby Brissett did an outstanding job, by the way. Great leader, of course. But now, Cleveland coming to Indy, Marcus, Deshaun Watson versus Anthony Richardson. Man, this can be an electric game because now you're week 7 into the year. Maybe there's not a lot of rust on Richardson anymore. Maybe he found his groove a little bit by week 7.
Yeah, for sure. He could definitely find his groove around this time. Cleveland Browns. We don't even know which Browns team we're going to get. And we don't even know which Deshaun Watson we're going to get in this game either because he had his moments last year. Yeah, I know, right? Hopefully a bad one because he had his moments last year. It was just like, man, he's been gone for a minute, so he's still trying to get his feet under him. So hopefully we get that version. If we get any version of Deshaun Watson that led the Texans to the playoffs, it could be a rough one. But we did beat that Deshaun Watson in the playoffs too. So hey, it is what it is. I'm just happy to know my history a little bit. So hey, look, ain't nobody scared of Deshaun Watson either. We know how good he could be. We know how bad he could be. We're gonna get the bag because we're gonna send some heat. Pass rush is coming back.
I wouldn't say nobody's scared of him.
I was never scared of Deshaun Watson.
There's some people that are scared of Deshaun Watson. Rightfully so. Look, man, I've made it my mission. Like, this is even going back to last year, even before I started the show with you guys. I don't talk about the Browns. I don't talk about Deshaun Watson, because the stuff that I could say and the jokes that I would make would get this show taken off of YouTube. So I do my best just to shut my mouth and not even talk about it. I'm just not a big fan of him and what he, some of the actions that he is taking. And I don't agree with what Cleveland did either. So I just kind of avoid the situation. That's why I said, y'all can take the Cleveland game. I'm moving straight on New Orleans. Colts get a W against Cleveland all day, every day. I'm never picking the Browns to win a single game with that dude under center. So every time the Browns play, if you want to know my prediction on who wins the game, it's always the other team, no matter what. So yeah, Colts getting a W week 7, easy W, not even a question. And yeah, on to New Orleans.
Rightfully so. Let's move on. Week 8, New Orleans Saints, Derek Carr, Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, Kendre Miller. All right, Marshawn Lattimore, Cameron Jordan. You got all kinds. New Orleans is going up. They finally found a quarterback, right? I mean, all this talent, and you don't know what to do at quarterback. Well, you finally got the guy, Derek Carr. He is your guy now. This is going to be Saints coming to Indy, by the way. This is going to be another home game for the Colts. I think they would have, they're going to have back-to-back home games, Cleveland and then New Orleans. This one is going to be an old-fashioned. I'm pretty sure me and my brother are going to have fun watching this one. He's a Saints fan. I'm a Colts fan. We're going to be able to watch that at my house a little bit.
You had a rough 2009.
Oh, man, yeah. Oh, my Jesus.
Is it your older brother or younger?
Yeah, my older brother, yeah.
Man, I'm the oldest of 3, so I'm 3 siblings. If any of my younger siblings had a team that lost to my team in the Super Bowl, that house would have been lit on fire.
Oh,
man. I feel so sorry for you, Mike, what you probably had to endure. From an older brother perspective, he was probably on you hard.
Yeah, we would have been fighting, no cap.
Oh, yeah.
There may have been a few. There may have been a few B words thrown here and there,
They're catching strays for the rest of their life too. Not even like in 2009, forever.
Yes.
I want to remind you of that every chance.
Hey man, let's get Landon your thoughts. Your thoughts on this game. Derek Carr, who usually has his way with the Colts. I mean, this dude just carves up the Colts every single time he plays them. If there was a game that you have just one of those games where you say, I'm going to just pencil this as a win, or I'm going to pencil this as a loss. This game against New Orleans week 8, I'm going to pencil in as a loss. I got to fight the statistics here. Derek Carr has his way with the Colts. But let's go to you guys, Landon first, and then we'll go to Marcus. Y'all's thoughts on this game. Not going to New Orleans, but New Orleans is going to come up to Indy.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think they get revenge, against New Orleans. I'm still not sold on Dennis Allen as a head coach. I'm not sold on Derek Carr, as a quarterback. I think like he's serviceable, but he's in like that Ryan Tannehill tier for me. Like him and Tannehill are like very similar. I'm just not sold on him. And then, I mean, they're just another team. Like they're old, I'm not gonna say they're old. Like a lot of their like star players are aging at this point. So they do have a younger team, but a lot of their star guys are kind of aging. And there's another team like they just keep putting off a rebuild every year. So they're like very similar to where the Colts have been the last couple of years, where they're just trying to hang on to contention. And it's probably a lot easier in the NFC to do that than it is in the AFC because the AFC is just so loaded. The NFC, not so much from a quarterback perspective. So, I mean, like they're just trying to hold on and stay competitive and stay relevant instead of just tearing it down and just rebuilding. And like they keep kicking the can down the road with the cap situation. So I mean, I could see this starting. I mean, yeah, like on paper, Kamara. You're looking at Mike Thomas. You're looking at, I mean, Kendra, obviously, friend of the show, Kendra Miller. Great addition by them. Big fan of his. And
What a guy.
we'll see what happens. But I think they got a decent offensive line too down there.
Yeah.
But their pass rush is aging. Their defensive line is aging.
Yeah. They lost David Onyemata too.
Yeah, like their DB room is not what it once was, a couple years ago. It's a little tough. Their linebacker core, I think they still have Demario Davis, who was a pretty decent player, but I mean, it doesn't really strike fear in you. So they're going to be asking this offensive line and this running game and Derek Carr to be doing a lot of heavy lifting for them. So, yeah, I mean, this is a team. I think too. Like this could be right around when we start seeing the growth from like these young guys. 2 months into the season, 8 games in, and you really kind of saw it with Anthony Richardson last year. You saw him struggle early on, and like I was not sold on it. Like I mean, you can even go back and pull up old tweets of mine. Like I was not sold on Richardson early on because. I mean, he was in a new offense. He didn't really show any growth. He was still making mistakes. And regardless of whether he had to play a lot, he was still, 3 years into his college. Like this was his 3rd year in college, and he still looked that raw. And I was like, man, like I just don't know because you just haven't seen the growth. You haven't seen the development. But the guy that he was in September and October was completely different than the guy he was in November and December. I mean, like the growth that guy took after week 6. So, like, I believe after week 6, they faced, they had another 6 games or 6 or 7 games after that. And in those games, he played 4 ranked opponents, including Georgia, Tennessee. I can't remember who else they played, but they played 4 ranked opponents. So 4 of their 6 games were against ranked opponents. And he went from, I believe it was 5 touchdowns and 7 interceptions in the first 6 weeks. He had 12 touchdowns and 2 interceptions the final 6 weeks. So, like, you saw the growth in real time, and it was like pretty extreme growth too. So you kind of started to see him kind of figure it out after about week 6, week 7. And like I think week 8 would be a really good measuring stick. You're almost halfway through the season, and you can probably start really seeing the growth. So that could be a game the Colts come out there and they surprise because, like I said, New Orleans, it's a little bit of an older roster as far as like their impact players are a little bit older. And this Colts team, man, I believe it's the 3rd youngest team in the league, if not. And I might even be mistaken after Nick Foles got cut.
Right.
They might be the youngest team in the league. So
he was the oldest guy on the roster, right?
He was. So I mean, yeah. So they might be the youngest team in the league. We'd have to check. I believe Luke Robbins. If you don't follow him, follow Lucas. I believe he had a tweet about it that after I'd have to pull it up. Let me check on that. Get Marcus's stats real quick.
Yeah, for sure. And I do have the preseason games too for the Colts as well. If you want to post that after this. But yeah, this team. It's old. I can see Anthony Richardson giving that D-line a run for their money because he's going to be all over the field scrambling because they can still give you pressure, but I don't think they'll be able to get to the quarterback like they used to. But I think it's going to be an offensive game when it comes to this matchup for sure. I think it's going to be more offense than defense. But for sure, it should be an interesting one. I hate the Saints just to what they did to my childhood. But it's going to be okay. But it is what it is at the end of the day. They're still going to be a fun team to watch, in my opinion. I just think when you said kicking the can down the road, I think they're going to finally stop kicking the can and go get Caleb next season. So it is what it is.
That would be smart. But yeah,
be.
So this is from at Robbins Lucas. If you guys don't follow him, make sure to follow him. Great information from him. But so the Colts were the third youngest roster. They averaged 26 years old before releasing Nick Foles, and Nick Foles was 34. So they released him, and after they signed the remaining class and some undrafted free agent guys that they brought in and all that, they will have the youngest roster in the NFL.
Wow.
So yeah,
that's exciting. Honestly, when I hear that, that's exciting.
Very.
That is very exciting. So you got New Orleans, and then after week 8, Colts fans won't see the guys in Indy for a while. They will be without them for 3 weeks. Week 9, guys, I was wondering when this game was going to happen. I don't know about you guys, but this game's going to tug on my heartstrings. It's going to tug on them a little bit. Colts are going to be going to Carolina. Frank Reich is going to have his revenge game against his former team. He knows how Gus Bradley thinks, knows his tendencies. Bryce Young versus Anthony Richardson, number 1. And this is slated for 4:05 on Sunday. So this might, depending on where both teams are, this could be, the A slot, whether if it's CBS or Fox. We'll get those details later on this summer. But, depending on how the success of both of these teams, you could see Jim Nantz and Tony Romo covering this game, or the A team for Fox covering this game, depending on what's going on there. But guys, this one, whoo, man, this one's gonna be fun. This one's gonna be fun. Obviously, there's no DJ Moore that we have to worry about, but you still got a couple guys on that defense now. Got the young guy and Bryce Young versus Anthony Richardson. It's going to be exciting. Frank Reich versus Shane Steichen. Frank Reich facing his old team. Some will say he was fired on time. Some will say he was done dirty. Regardless of it, history is history, and there's going to be some history in this game. Marcus, let me start with you. Week 9, heading to Carolina, afternoon game. Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson.
Man, I'm rooting for the Colts, but there's gonna be I'm gonna support the Panthers too. It's gonna be a game I'm gonna be on the edge of my seat to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I do think the Panthers are going into the right direction. I don't think they're fully there yet. I think they got at least maybe maybe one more season until they hit that next stride. But I think their team is always still explosive, especially from the defensive side. They had a good defense for a few years. And now that they got their quarterback, they can start making some type of progress on offense, especially with a quarterback-minded coach in Frank Reich. And they have a tremendous coaching staff, too, so I got to give them praise for that. But I do think they still are a few pieces away from being that team that can definitely make noise in the NFC. But I do think they can win a few games. This is definitely going to be scrappy fight. I don't think it's going to be high-scoring either. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game when it comes to these two teams, because these two teams is going to battle out, and it's going to be a battle of the rookies, man. But I do think the Colts definitely got their number in this matchup. I'm rooting for Frank this season. But like I said, I do think they got a few more, maybe 1 or 2 more years until they hit that next gear. But they're going in the right direction, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I'm actually going to take Carolina in this one, guys. Just because
I didn't want to be the first one to say it.
No, I think the Panthers are much more ready-made to win now. Especially with Bryce Young. I think he's much more of a, plug and play type of guy, quarterback. You can just plug him in, and Frank's going to put him in position to succeed. Their offensive line is really good. They got some really good tackles there, bookend tackles. And then not only that, their defensive line is phenomenal, especially with Brian Burns down there. J.C. Horn at cornerback.
Derek Brown in the middle.
Yeah, safety's really good as well. Jeremy Chin down there. So, yeah, man, they got a really good roster. Really talented roster. Great coaching staff. Probably one of the best coaching staffs in football. Not only just with Frank Reich, but, you're talking about Ejiro Evero running the defense now. We saw what he did with Denver last year. McCown at quarterback coach. I think that's going to be a phenomenal thing for Bryce to work with. Yeah, man, there's so many great coaches on that roster, even the assistant coaches. But, they're
DC too.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. Evero at DC. It's fantastic. So, Yeah, this is gonna be a tough one. Although, like I said, I think the Colts, talent-wise, they're on the rise there.
Yep.
I just think Carolina is a little bit more ready-made right now to step in and make some noise in year one with Bryce Young. So yeah, it's gonna be tough. And I think Frank, he's out to prove something, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But yeah, I think Carolina. I think these next two games for the Colts, as far as like week 9 and week 10, that's tough. That's tough for a young team. So
it's tough. I mean, I think it's possible the Colts could go losing 4 straight here. I think it's fairly possible. This game against Carolina, man, I think I'll join that boat. I'm gonna take Carolina in this game, both for talent and then just want to see Frank get the last laugh here.
I don't want to see Frank get the last laugh. I don't ever want the Colts to lose a game. But that being said, I mean,
I'll be happy either way. Let's just say that.
Yeah, it will be a tough game, and yeah, of course. Carolina will definitely be my NFC team for sure as far as going into the NFC. Well, outside of the Packers, I got root for Green Bay, but
right.
But yeah, like outside of the Packers, because that was my first team growing up. That's been my mom's team since she was younger. I mean, she's been a Packers fan for as long as I've lived. I grew up because of that. I was in Packers stuff from the time until I could make my own decisions. Once I made my own decisions, I veered off, which then again, I mean, that was damn near 30 years ago. But yeah, I'll always root for Green Bay. But yeah, Carolina definitely is. I'm definitely pulling for Frank for sure. I love Bryce Young too. I mean, he's such a well-spoken individual. Yeah. So he's so impressive. Mm-hmm. Especially when you get to talk to him in person. I mean, me and Marcus down at the draft, we got to sit in on his post-draft presser, and just how poised and respectful and well-spoken he is. I mean, he's a phenomenal person. So all the success to Carolina and Frank and Bryce Young and all those guys. And hopefully one day, we'll get to see that week 9 matchup. We'll get to see it for a trophy, for a Lombardi trophy.
Hey, yeah, definitely. Week 10.
That's the spirit.
Yeah, right? Week 10, after going to Carolina, the Colts are going to go across the pond and face New England in Germany. Guys, I have a big problem with this game.
Why?
I have
Belichick versus rookie quarterbacks?
No. I mean, yes, that too. But I have a rule for NFL scheduling. Don't put rivalry games across the pond. You got to put them in front of each other's home crowd. And this game needs to be either in New England or Indianapolis. Going to Germany, there's going to be no hostility in that game. We think of Colts and Patriots. We think of fiery matchups. We think of just heated debates. And now
Jonathan Taylor breaking off a big run. That's what I think.
A big one, outrunning J.C. Jackson. Hell, Ashton Doolin caught up with him.
Deflate gate.
Yes. You think about all of that. And now, don't get me wrong, Germany deserves their NFL games, but damn it, give them Cleveland. Give them New Orleans or the Rams. You had to give them the Patriots and the Colts. That needs to be either in New England or Indy.
No, Germany gave them the Colts for our guy Sebastian to see his team that he loves and does articles for in person. Right. This is why they did it. For our guy Sebastian. So Sebastian, this is for you, brother. Go down there and support the Colts and root for us. And I know you're going to enjoy the game because I know you say he was mentioned about going and representing.
Yeah.
So way to go, NFL. Shout out to you for representing to let Sebastian see his team play there.
But that's my only complaint. But then again, about this game going across the pond, Bill Belichick versus rookie quarterbacks. The Patriots are coming along a little bit. How much of a rivalry is it since McDaniels is gone? I don't know, man. It's still a rivalry.
Oh, it's still a rivalry because the ownership.
Yeah, it's still a rivalry. Robert Kraft versus Jim Irsay. Yeah, it's still there. Yeah, shout out Seb, definitely our writer from the UK, obviously doing great work across the pond as well. So happy that he can try and get to go to that game. This is going to be another game where this is the 4th game I mentioned it's highly possible that the Colts could end up losing 4 straight here. Cleveland, New Orleans, Carolina, New England. It's going to be tough. But again, never say never, right? Landon, let's go with you here. New England Colts in Germany. At week 10, by the way. So how are we feeling?
Yeah, not very good. I don't ever feel good playing Bill Belichick, whether that's with a veteran quarterback, but especially rookies. I mean, the things that he throws at them post-snap, pre-snap disguises,
the
way that he just constantly morphs that. I mean, whenever you think you've got it figured out, you don't have it figured out. It's tough for me too, like just watching along the TV, because I'll think I'll be watching, I'm like, oh, got it. And then post-snap they switch coverages, and it's just like, okay, I was definitely wrong. I was throwing a pick there. So good thing I'm not playing. But yeah, man, it's a tough matchup. It's gonna be tough for Richardson. It's gonna be tough for this young roster. I mean, just young in general, the way that their corners handle, press coverage. It's gonna be tough for Josh Downs as well. So yeah, we'll see what happens. The good news is, like I said, they seem to possibly maybe have like a quarterback controversy there. Like, I don't know if they're fully sold on Mac Jones. So you don't ever know how that could play out 10 weeks of the season. Could we be seeing Mac Jones? Could he be benched? Nobody knows. So it's really going to depend on how their offense plays out throughout the year. But we know that defense is going to be ready. And we know it's going to be tough to score points in that game. So it's it's tough, but I would probably take New England in this game, just off face value now. I mean, obviously this is May. So, I mean, we'll see what New England looks like during the season. May. Yeah, it's gonna be May. We'll see what happens as the season progresses for sure. But yeah, right now, shout out Billy Zappi, my guy, WKU. Let's go Toppers. Hilltop game right there. And man, it's just tough. That's a tough game.
Yeah. Marcus, where are you at?
Because y'all forgot to mention that the NFL gave Bill Belichick a top corner. Like, who in what world will give Bill Belichick Christian Gonzalez? Like, and this is what we got to face overseas too. Anthony Richardson could probably be jet lagged, so he could probably have a long night. Then he got to get up with the hour change and go out there and face a guy like Christian Gonzalez who could just. So
I mean, we've seen Bill Belichick turn undrafted dudes into all pros.
Yeah,
and this makes it even worse. Like, he actually has a pro. Like, you guys are not doing us any favors.
That's good. They got a tough
it's gonna be a good game, but I definitely can see New England still in this one, only because we got jet lag. But that's the only excuse I'm going to give them. But
I mean, New England's making the same flight Indy is, though.
Hey, man. Hey, whose side are you on? I make excuses for the Colts.
Oh my gosh! Right. It's a tank for Marvin Harrison season, right?
Attaboy. I wouldn't want it, but I would campaign it if it was possible.
Definitely. I mean, depending on where we're at by week 10, we might start campaigning it by then. Let's go ahead and go to the comment here. Shout out. I told you we get back to you. All right, KJ Wood, I told you we get back to you. How do you feel about the bye week right after the overseas game? I love it. And I think that's something ideal that the NFL does for every team, just because you're making that long, 16, 17-hour flight from one country to another. And then it would be such a tough turnaround to come back and still have to come and, practice, film study, and have to play another game 5-6 days later after you've gotten back in your jet lag. So that's something the NFL does quite a bit. I haven't looked at the rest of the games overseas and what those team schedules look like after that game. If I had to take a stab at it, I'd say they all have a bye week after that game. So NFL just looking after the teams a little bit here. But I like it. I like where the bye week is. It's not too early. It's not too late. The bye week is going to happen week 11 after this overseas game, and then after that you'll still have 7 games after that. So I like where the bye week is. Not too early, not too late. Let's move on here to week 12.
I will say one more point on the bye week, though. So if Anthony Richardson is not ready to start the season and he needs more time, more reps in practice, I think after week 10, you go down to Germany, you get back, you have 2 full weeks of installation. I think this is where this would be like a perfect place to have him start the rest of the season. So the final, 7 games. So if Richardson does not start the first half of the year, I think starting in Tampa Bay and then going the rest of the year, I think this could be a really good spot for him.
Yeah, definitely. With week 12, the Colts are going to face Tampa Bay. Baker Mayfield should probably be the guy there, probably going to be starting there. Tom Brady has retired, but, I mean, guys, this team is still talented. They are still talented. Their offensive line is still talented. They still have weapons. Their defensive line just gets tougher and tougher. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Hold on. I think he went to the Browns. I can't remember off the top of my head. The Buccaneers got somebody on the defensive line in this draft.
They also got Cody Mock.
Yeah, they got Cody Mock. They drafted Logan Hall out of Houston. Shout out Belton alumni there. They got somebody in this past draft. They got somebody on that defense. Regardless, you got Shaq Barrett. You got Joe Tryon Shalinkra. I hope I did not butcher that name. You got Antoine Winfield. You got the corners still there. Tampa Bay, this is another game where it's going to be really tough for Anthony Richardson. I mean, you're going to have the defensive line going crazy. You're most likely not going to be able to run the football in this game because of that freaking behemoth in the middle of that defensive line.
Big old Vita Vea.
Big old Vita Vea. It's going to be hard. So it's going to be hard in this game for Anthony Richardson. I might pencil this in as a loss, but then again, I look on the other side and I see Baker Mayfield. So, you might have a chance there, especially if in this game, Anthony Richardson knows how to use his legs and can sense the pressure and get away from it. I like the potential of this game. This has the makeup of a good, fun game, all right? Not the craziest talent at quarterback for the Buccaneers, but still, we've seen Baker Mayfield be able to, do some things here and there. Marcus, let me start with you, man. Week 12, Tampa Bay coming back to Indy.
So I got the draft that they have. Kalijah Cansey, defensive lineman for Pittsburgh. Cody Mock, they got Yaya Dibey.
Cansey, that's what I thought. Yes, that dude. Oh my freaking gosh! So you got
Payne Gorham too. And,
you got him. Palmer. You got Vita Vea, Logan Hall, Joe Tryon, Shaq Barrett. My goodness, man, their defensive line is goodness gracious.
This is very good defensive line, but we got a counter for that. So you can have all the counter that you want, but let's see if Vita Vea can still run track. So
right, we got Titus Leo. What you talk about?
So, and then they got our quarterback. They got Baker Mayfield, so he's definitely gonna be playing for the Colts in week 12 because he's just gonna love handing us the football back. So looking forward to that matchup for sure. I think this is definitely a game that the Colts need, especially coming off this bye week and coming back from overseas as well. I think that a good warm up to end off the end of the second half, well, to start the second half of the season. I think against the Buccaneers is a good matchup, especially being at home. You don't want to play a team like this because they're gonna fight, but you can definitely beat a team like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who's still trying to figure out which direction they want to go, and they still like reconstructing their team as well. They have the talent, but they don't have the franchise quarterback yet, so it's still like a mid. It's gonna be like a mid type team to me. I think they're gonna they're gonna give us a fight, but I don't think it's gonna be the same type of effect like how Tampa used to be, in my opinion. So I think the Colts can win this one.
Landon?
Yeah, Tampa, man. Like I said, they still got some pretty decent talent there, but it's another team where like they're kind of on the verge of very similar to the Rams. Like they got some big names, especially on the defensive side of the ball, but it's tough. Because they're kind of one of those teams, like I said, they're on the verge of rebuilding, or are they? You don't ever know. So that being said, like I think the Colts can win this game. I really do think the Colts have a good shot at this game. So I would pencil this in as a W right now.
Let's go to week 13. They are going to Tennessee, going to Nashville, Tennessee, going to take on the Titans. Depending on, and this is another game, how Landon mentioned with Anthony Richardson, you get later on into the season.
It's a dub. It's a dub. It's the Titans.
Oh yeah, you're possibly gonna win. We penciled in wins before, but this is gonna be another game. Is Ryan Tannehill, playing well? Have they moved to Will Levis? This is gonna be another one, a division matchup here. I mean, they're going to Tennessee. They've had trouble with Tennessee in the past, but talent-wise, I think the Colts are past Tennessee. I don't think it's close talent-wise. The Colts got some real talent. Tennessee lacks talent. So week 13, I think I will take the Colts in this game, regardless who the quarterback is here, because I just think this team will have a much more higher morale, high character, high culture, and I think they'll be fun to play with each other. So I'll take the Colts in this week 13 game. Marcus, what are you going with?
Hey man, we rolling up Tennessee. We rolling up Tennessee in this week, man.
There you go.
I love the energy that Tennessee gonna bring, but it ain't the Tennessee that we used to. Malik Willis season if Tennessee likes us. Let them figure out their own QB scenario. We ain't got time for that. We got bigger and better things. So Tennessee, we coming home, and we're gonna do what we used to do to y'all. We're gonna give y'all a good history lesson. So we rolling up Tennessee in week 13. This ain't even in my worries right now. Next week is definitely I'm worried about, but this week, nah, we good. This is a dub.
Yeah, it's a dub. It's the Titans. Nobody cares.
I don't think nothing more needs to be said, right?
Yeah.
All right. So next week, week 14, Colts are gonna take the trip up to Cincinnati. Oh Lord. If you are a fan of this set, depending on where this secondary is, I'm gonna enjoy this game. Man, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, those guys are going to face this young secondary. And I am all here for it. I am here for all, whether if there's any trash talk between Brent and Chase, Rush and Higgins, if there's any trash talk from Blackman to Boyd, I don't care. I'm here for the smoke in this game, honestly. This is the game where I'm like, man, let's do all the trash talking. I want this secondary to get in on these guys, get in early on these guys. There's some good matchups early on for the secondary, but none other than this one. It's going to be tight. It's going to be cool. I don't know. I'm pretty sure we're all probably taking Cincinnati in this game, but is it going to be close? Is it going to be a blowout? Are the Colts going to hang in there and then just completely fall apart in the fourth? Who knows? But Landon, let's start with you.
Man, this game's going to be tough. This game is going to be tough. It's going to be fun though. This has a chance to be a lot of firepower in this game, and I mean, yeah, this is like whenever I'm really looking for after week 13. So the last 5 weeks of the season, that's really whenever I'm looking for the growth of this roster, to see how some of these guys look compared to where they looked earlier in the season. I'm really curious to see the growth, especially at the quarterback and the DB room, see how that kind of pans out. And this is going to be a great test because Cincinnati, I mean, their defensive line is great. They got a really good defense. And then on top of that, I mean, we already know what their offense is with Joe Burrow, all those weapons he has down there. We'll see if their offensive line ends up, improving any. It'll be curious to see how that plays out, but man, that's going to be a heck of a game. And really, these two teams are super close. So there's only 2 hours, 2.5 hours from each other.
Yeah, not far.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, this could be a very, very good crowd as well for the Colts, at this Bengals game. So this might be another one I might be interested in making as well. So
there you go.
I might pull up to Cincinnati. Technically it's in Ohio, but we all know Cincinnati is in Kentucky. It's a Kentucky place. Cincinnati is. So it's like saying Kansas City is in Kansas. You know, I mean, yeah, technically,
We definitely found out the difference when we went to the draft.
yeah, exactly. Like, yeah. So I mean, it'll be curious to see how this plays out. You know, this deep into the season, but definitely looking forward to this game.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. I love me some Joe Burrow, man, Jamar Chase. But we get to see Miles Murphy and Jordan battle this game too. So they got Jordan battle because that's what they needed out the draft. So I'm looking forward to see how they're going to move throughout the season and how better they're going to get as well, developing wise. And Joe Burrow definitely like he stepped into his own very early into the league, and now he's like, what is this, year 3 or year 4 under his belt? He's gonna be a little bit more polished, and he got a little bit more help and protection. He's gonna be a scary sight this year for sure. I think Joe Burrow is definitely taking another leap, production wise and game wise. So I'm looking. I'm gonna be scared, man. Joe Burrow is definitely gonna make some noise, but I'm still rooting for the Colts regardless. I think the Colts can beat Joe Burrow because they did it before in Lucas Oil Stadium. Y'all remember that game. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they're gonna pull it off, man. He ain't had the weapons that time, but hey, it is what it is. We won.
So this week 14 game is the start of what I think can be a really tough 3-game stretch, because after going to Cincinnati week 14, you come back home and face Pittsburgh. Say what you want about Pittsburgh, if you believe in Kenny Pickett or not, this team has talent, and they are the biggest factor is they're coached by Mike Tomlin. That's the biggest thing. They have a quarterback. They got the running back. They drafted George Pickens last year, had a solid season. Is he going to make a big-time jump? Still got Deontay Johnson in there. You got Pete Freiermuth who's been having another year, going to get better. They drafted Darnell Washington, going to be a rookie, going to be their blocking tight end. That can be an insane duo if Washington can get healthy in the next 2-3 years. That can be an insane duo. You go on the defensive side of the ball. The secondary is still quite possibly the best in the league. You still got TJ Watt. You still got players in the inside. Cam Hayward. You got Devin. I mean, you got guys all over.
They signed Bud Dupree back as well.
I think, did they?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did.
They got Minka still. They drafted Joey Porter Jr.
Yeah, Joey Porter Jr. I mean, this team has talent, and the biggest thing of all, they're being coached by Mike Tomlin. So this is going to be a tough game for Anthony Richardson and company. This is another game where I question, man, are they going to be able to run the ball in this game? Maybe, maybe not. Okay, if you don't want to run the ball, you want to pass it, well, good luck if you even have time to do that. So, Landon, I want to start with you on this one, man. This is, oh my gosh, this is going to be a fun game. I feel like I'm excited for it. Everything looks good on paper, right? But clearly we'll have a really good idea by this time, week 15, of who both of these teams are. And this game may not even matter, but obviously for us, it's different because we have a young team. We're looking for growth, like you've said multiple times. How do you feel about this game?
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough one, man. I don't see the Colts coming away with a win, in this game, but it'll be interesting, to just kind of watch. I know I've said that like 1,000 times, like, oh, it's gonna be interesting, but like this Colts team is interesting. Like, they're an interesting team to watch just because the talent, the youth, the athleticism they all possess. Like, we don't know what this team's gonna be this year. Like, it's really unknown. So every game to me is like, it's gonna be interesting to watch this Colts team. But especially whenever you put them up against, veteran coaches like Tomlin, like Belichick, like some of these other guys, and talented rosters as well. Pittsburgh has a very talented roster. It's going to go as far as Kenny Pickett's going to take them. So I want to be curious to see how that plays out. Still need some work along the offensive line there for Pittsburgh, but I think they're trending in the right direction. That defense is tough. Running game, we'll see how that, Najee Harris, he hasn't really panned out as far as, what people hoped he would have out of Alabama, but I still think he's got a chance to still be a good player there. But yeah, I'm gonna take this as an L. I think the Colts, it's gonna be a tough game for them to pull out.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be a tough game. They did draft Broderick Jones, so it's a little help to that offensive line. But yeah, they still got ways to go. But I mean, after the last time we've seen Kenny Pickett, what he did to the Colts, he didn't have an offensive line. I feel like he can still do the same damage and he got a little bit more help this time too. So it's going to be an interesting game to watch for sure. I hate losing to the Steelers because I feel like they always have our number, but it can definitely happen again. But it won't break the season. It's just going to be a tough game that we're just going to possibly lose, and it is what it is at the end of the day. The Steelers, they probably had momentum depending on how the strength of their schedule or how they're looking. So hey, who knows? But this is a tough stretch for the Colts when you look at the schedule wise. So yeah, it's very possible that they could lose this game.
So when you look at week 15, okay, that's going to be a tough one. Go to the next week. You're going to Atlanta, and this is another team who I think has potential to go to the playoffs this year. The NFC South is wide open, okay? Tom Brady is gone. They are, Tampa Bay is not as strong as they once were. They got Baker Mayfield, a huge drop from going from Tom Brady to Baker Mayfield. You look at New Orleans, they have questions. We talked about them earlier. We're facing the NFC South this season, and each team has their pros, has their cons. Atlanta, I'm rocking with Atlanta this season. I have high praise. I have high excitement for this team in general. I'm a huge fan of Desmond Ridder. He was a guy I was hoping the Colts would take a chance on as a young quarterback in last year's draft. He took over after Marcus Mariota was stinking it up, and he played well. He played like a rookie quarterback, but he made so many plays through the air. He made so many plays with his legs, and now you give him Drake London for a second year. Then you give him Kyle Pitts. You drafted Bijan Robinson. The offensive line looks solid, but then that's not even the only exciting part. Go to the defense, and when we talked about Bud Dupree, the Falcons actually signed Bud Dupree, and if you look at their defense, man, they got Calais Campbell. They got David Onyemata staying in the division, formerly of the New Orleans Saints. Still got Grady Jarrett. Still got Lorenzo Carter, Troy Anderson, Caden Ellis, Bud Dupree, A.J. Terrell, Richie Grant. Just signed Jesse Bates III from Cincinnati. And you traded for Jeff Okuda over this offseason. This is going to be a fun matchup, man. This is fun, honestly. I'm excited for this game between Indianapolis and Atlanta because Atlanta, man, I'm telling you, if they can figure it out with Desmond Ridder, that team is probably winning the South, and don't rule them out on possibly making a run in the NFC playoffs. Landon, let me start with you on this one. This game, Atlanta, Indy, I mean, this can be a good one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit more bullish than you are with Atlanta, just because I like Desmond Ridder a lot. He was my quarterback one in the class last year, actually, but I'm still I need to see more from him, and their tackle situation is tough. So they got a really good interior line,
yeah,
but I think their tackles are we're gonna need to see some growth from them, and then the weapons outside of Kyle Pitts and Drake London leave a little bit to be desired as well, and we'll just kind of see how that goes. Bijan Robinson, of course, is a good ad, and I mean, I didn't think running back was a need for them because of how well the guy that they drafted last year played, and especially to waste. Or I'm not gonna say waste because I don't think Bijan Robinson's a waste. He's a fantastic football player, but it's just to spend that high of a pick with some of those other needs on a running back when it's on the board, I just didn't necessarily agree with that. I still think their defensive line needs to I don't trust Bud Dupree. And because he can't stay on the field. But yeah, I mean, their linebacker room's a little iffy. I do like their DB room. Their DB room's really good. I think that's going to be the strength of their defense is Grady Jarrett and then that DB room. And then the interior of that offensive line, their ability to run the ball. We know Arthur Smith loves to run the ball. I'm still not necessarily sold on him either as a head coach. I think he's a really good offensive coordinator. I'm just a little iffy on him as a head coach. But yeah, this is a team that I do think they have some talent, and as long as they're the coach puts them in the best position to succeed, which is something that he didn't really do a lot last year, especially since he's had Kyle Pitts. He has not utilized Kyle Pitts the way Kyle Pitts needs to be utilized, and it drives me nuts for the last 2 seasons watching Kyle Pitts out there just not being targeted not being used as a workhorse in that offense, like because that guy's just such a mismatch problem. Like he's a freak, and the fact that they just don't use him, like there's been times I've seen Kyle Pitts lined up in line as a blocker. Like what? What are you doing? And so I mean, yeah, it'll be curious to see if their coaching can utilize some of that talent. But yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily like I'm not over the moon about Atlanta. I do think like this is a very winnable game for the Colts.
Man, and Anthony Richardson missed Kyle Pitts by what, a year?
Yeah, a couple years.
Man, what a fun duo
he was drafted when Richardson was a rookie. So
yeah,
or not a rookie, but a freshman. So
yeah.
Plus two, like the good thing about this for the Colts, like the Colts have so much speed. Like they're probably one of the like if not the most athletic team, just off pure athleticism in the NFL. Like they are like the definition of like get off the bus, like dudes. And Atlanta's in a dome, so you get to play Christmas Eve in a dome, away from the weather, on the turf. You know, it's going to be fast. It's very similar to Lucas Oil as far as, you know, playing in that dome on the turf. So they're going to be able to play fast. Hopefully at this point of the season, they're not thinking as much as they are early on. They're able to utilize that elite athleticism that they drafted and stuff like that. So I think this is very winnable for Indy.
I do too. I think this is going to be the most penalized game as well. Because their defense is very handsy. So I think this is going to be a very penalized game. But I do think the Colts have the favor in this, in my opinion. I'm not being completely biased, it's just being honest. If you match up our D-line versus their offensive line, I think everyone's going to choose the Colts. No question when it comes up to that. And Desmond Ridder is going to be under pressure this game. And, you know, he's still got a lot to work on. So, I mean, he has potential to be very solid, but I think this game is not going to be for him. So I think I'm going to give the Colts the edge this game. Like I said, it's going to be a lot of flags this game as well. So looking forward to seeing that before Christmas, but the Colts are definitely walking the way it does with this. Sorry. You're
good. Let's move on to week 17. The Las Vegas Raiders coming to town, coming to Indy. Josh McDaniels, Jimmy Garoppolo, those guys are coming to Indy. I think the Colts can snag this one. I think they will. I just don't think Las Vegas is going to compete this season. This is a team that could line itself up for Anthony Rich or for Caleb Williams. Do we need another freaking quarterback in the AFC? No, but this is another team along with the Rams that, you know, I could see going there. Now, they did give Jimmy Garoppolo a 3-year deal, but I mean, what are you going to tell Jimmy Garoppolo? Like, oh, hey, yeah, you're going to start in front of Caleb Williams. Like, come on. So this is a game that I'm probably going to pencil in as a win for the Colts.
Yeah, they got a good defense. But hey, who knows if we're seeing Jimmy Garoppolo or Aiden O'Connell? Let's just be honest. I mean,
hey,
we don't know right now. I mean, they drafted a solid defense though.
Plus, I mean, Josh McDaniels is the head coach, so
yeah, he stinks.
Right.
I mean, yeah, that's.
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong.
Draft capital, but lose Devontae Adams in the same process.
Hey, don't get me wrong. Tyree Wilson scares me. Okay.
Yeah.
But Max Crosby scares me. But then again, I just look across the sideline and I just see Shane Steichen. I see Shane Steichen just laughing every time he looks at Josh McDaniels.
They got Trey Tucker over there too.
Trey Tucker, there you go. But Josh McDaniels ain't gonna know how to use him, so
nah. Yeah, so it's gonna be a rough game for them. Huh?
Landon, where you at with this one?
Like as far as Houston?
No, Vegas.
Oh, the Vegas. Yeah, I mean, it's Josh McDaniels, bro.
Yeah,
I mean,
nothing needs to be said. Let's go to the last game of the season. And the Colts really have this habit. The NFL is giving them, starting with Houston, ending with Houston. Regardless, it could end up that Houston will still have a problem by this time. This one is going to be exciting because Anthony Richardson would have gone through a full season. CJ Stroud would have gone through a full season. Knocking on wood. Hopefully these guys avoid injury. This is going to be another exciting one. Richardson, Stroud. It's going to be a really good matchup. I'm excited, man. Obviously, they lost some weapons. They traded away Brandon Cooks to Dallas, staying in the state. But you still got some young guys. John Mechie could be making his way back here. They got Nico Collins, who was from Michigan a couple years ago. He showed some promise. But, man, dude, the Colts are going to be rounding out the year with Houston at home. So you start the year at home, end the year at home. How do we feel about this one? Do you think this could be a win and get in? Do you anticipate the Colts fighting for playoff at this point, or they're just
giving the broken, Mike?
Yeah, they're giving the Colts fans one last hoorah before hitting the offseason.
Yeah, I think this is the game where you're really looking mostly at the growth from for both sides of this. So for Anthony Richardson and for CJ Stroud, you want to see just kind of how they've grown throughout the season, stuff like this. But as far as for the Colts, yeah, I mean, looking at this schedule right now, I think, I've got them penciled in for 17-0 right now. They're not losing the game. But I mean, if you want me to be real though, I would say comfortably, I think 6 to 7 wins on the season for them would be more realistic. I think Houston has a chance to be one of those this last weekend.
I could definitely see 7 wins too. Out of all honesty, we would like to see an undefeated season, but yeah, I think 7 wins is realistic, especially after last year. I think this is a good direction to go towards, especially being the Colts, drafting a young guy who's still learning the system, going into the game very young. So I think this is going to be an exciting season, more or less. I think Colts fans should either want 7 wins or to win the division. I wouldn't aim for the Super Bowl right now. We still got ways to go, but I do think this is a good step moving forward for the Colts. I think this is a good schedule as well to make it, to make it 7 wins.
So just making this a little bit more fun before we close it out. Record predictions, looking at this schedule. Record predictions, I guess I'll go ahead and go first. I already went through the list and, battled with a couple of these picks. But my record prediction here on, May 11th, I believe it is. Yeah, May 11th. I will pencil in the Colts going 6-11. Marcus, what do you got?
Yeah, I got 7. I got 7 and 10.
I have 7 and 10 as well. That's what
okay.
So I think they pull out 7 wins. One of those will be a surprise. They'll win a game that they have no business winning, and another one will be they will be dropping a game they have no business losing. So that's just the way the season goes.
Yeah. Because I look at it as this team still has talent, right? They still have talent, but they're also very young. So you're going to see a lot of mistakes early or probably just throughout the season. You're going to see, shocker, Colts fans, you're going to see mistakes at quarterback. Shocker. You're going to see mistakes at the corner spot. You're going to see some rough patches here, but, this isn't the toughest schedule. If it was, I'd probably having them winning 3 games, but I think 6-11 will be fine. I think you could still be positioned for a top 10 pick at number 9 or 10, depending on, how the rest of the NFL goes. But yeah, this 2023 year is going to be about growth. It's going to be about where you're at. Prioritize what free agents you want to bring back. I know Julian Blackmon's going to be one of them this coming free agency next year. So this is going to be an exciting one. Last year we talked about it. They were a bad, boring football team, which is the worst kind of team to watch. But now this is going to be a fun team to watch because you're going to see some highs. You're going to see some lows. You're going to see some, what were you thinking? You're going to see some, how did he do that? I'm excited for it. So any other closing thoughts about the schedule release? Let's start with you, Landon.
No, I mean, I just, like you said, I'm ready for the season to get here. I'm even excited for the preseason. I want to see how these dudes play, all these young guys. I want to see how they've grown. I'm ready for camp. I'm just ready for the season to get here. I'm ready for football. ready to watch this team grow throughout the season, ready to watch this quarterback. I mean, it's going to be fun, man. So it's like you said, it's last year they were bad and boring. At least, you know, they might not be great this year, but at least they're going to be fun to watch. And you're going to see, I think you put it really well. It's like you're going to see some like, how in the world did he do that? And, you know, especially from the quarterback. So I'm super excited to get the season on the way. And this is, remember, you got to be patient. People just have to be patient.
Yeah.
If they come out and struggle, if they win 4 games, 5 games, you're not really looking at the now. Like, of course, like if they come out and make the playoffs, everybody's like, oh yeah, like we're ahead of schedule. This is dope. And if you're making the playoffs, that means your quarterback is probably well on his way to being a damn good player.
That's the cherry on top.
Exactly. But really, what you're looking for this season, you're just looking for continued growth throughout the season. You want guys. You don't want guys making the same mistakes in week 16 they were making in week 6. So, you know, that's the only thing I'll say is just everybody just be patient. Let's just go through. Let's enjoy the process. This is part of it, and you know, we'll see what happens when the season comes.
And I will before you get going, Marcus. I do want to quote what Chris Ballard had talked about when discussing guys like Rock Ya-Sin, how he was boisterous about how fans would always criticize a guy like Rock, who was a young guy who's raw at the position, former wrestler, very handsy, very physical. That's how a lot of these young guys coming in are, especially last year's class. Remember, Nick Cross didn't play last year. He played early, but he got redshirted. All right? Don't judge these guys on a play-by-play basis. Judge them on a game-by-game basis. Look at the game as a whole, and as the season goes on, you're going to be able to compare the bad game someone had in game 1. Did they correct the mistakes in game 4, in game 6? Was the bad game in game 6 better than the bad game in game 1? So that's how we gotta, and we're gonna keep harping on that as the summer goes on, as we lead into training camp. I just wanted to make that quick note. Marcus, your closing remarks.
I'm about to neigh so loud right now. The Colts is about to have a very fun season. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. I think Colts fans was shocked to see Sam Ellinger when he debuted. This is not even half of what Sam Ellinger did, what we're about to see next year with Anthony Richardson. Like, I'm just looking forward to the highlight tapes because we see mixtapes all over TikTok, YouTube, and what we're about to see with Anthony Richardson is about to be crazy. And I can't wait for the publicity and the clout that the Colts are about to get with this guy, man. It's gonna be a fun year. Like I said, I'm not expecting a Super Bowl. I would like to win the division. That's my standards, if anything. But 7 wins is better than what we've seen last year. Like, so I'm looking forward to that. That's the most I want. I want to see progression, and I want to see if Shaquille Leonard can stay on the field. Those are 2 things I'm looking forward to this season more than anything. So, like I said, I'm going to enjoy it. And this preseason schedule, what we can see right here, is definitely going to be something to watch as well, besides the Bears one. But the Bills and Eagles is definitely 2 games I'm looking forward to watching. It's gonna be an exciting season, man. Really is.
That third game against Philadelphia, that's going to be the dress rehearsal game. You know, Shane Steichen facing his old team. It's going to be the dress rehearsal game. I mean, I assume, right, unless Shane Steichen has a different vision for the preseason. But that's gonna be a good one there. That's gonna be a good one. That third preseason game. That's gonna be a good one. So I think that's good. That's gonna do it, guys. Thank you guys so much who joined in and commented. And again, we always appreciate y'all's support. This is gonna be a fun schedule. I'm excited for it. Obviously, plenty of content to come here in the near future about this schedule. How high can the Colts go? How low can they go? There's going to be so much stuff to talk about here, guys. So other than that, make sure you're following all 3 of us. Our Twitter links are going to be in the link below. And if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, wherever the case may be, make sure you like and subscribe and rate and review us as well. It really helps us out a lot, guys. Thank you so much. Again, the schedule is officially out. Start making your plans, plan your vacations, your planes, get your hotels, sell out these games, and let's see our young team perform. And hey, like if Marcus said what he said can happen, win the division, take us in a home playoff game. I love a home playoff game. I love it. I'd love it. It's been a while since we've hosted a home playoff game. When was the last time? Like 2013 or 2014 when they made the AFC Championship game? That was the last time. So it's a long time coming, damn it. All right? It's a long time coming. So let's get it going, guys. Thank you again. He is Landon. He is Marcus. I am Michael. Thank you for listening to this show. Thank you for this live stream, especially if you're listening on audio as well. So, guys, enjoy the weekend. We'll see you next week.